welcome to another drive-in double feature. I'm Ryan,
I'm Nathan.
and this is the podcast where we talk about two movies a week every Tuesday and Thursday. But before I get into anything raw, we have a Patreon over at patreon.com/drive-in double feature podcast. It's just a nice, fun conversation of two friends having a good time, playing some fun games, having a laugh. What more could you ask for over there for only $5 a month? That's not affecting any regular content whatsoever. That's it. But anyway,
What the hell? No, nothing?
what do you mean? I didn't meet anybody this week. You want me to just make up something? These are all
Oh, I
true
got you. You just
stuff.
had a normal week. Didn't
It was
run
just a
into
normal
anything.
week.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just a normal week. But anyway, we are talking about 1984's The Return of Godzilla, which is directed by Koji Hashimoto. This is the start of our new Godzilla series. Nathan, we are back at it.
Oh my God.
Godzilla's back.
It's been so long. I feel like I haven't seen the man in forever.
It's very refreshing to see him alive and well. Do you have any experience at all with these strings of movie at all, Nathan?
The Heisei-era movies,
Yeah,
is that how you
just
say it, right?
any, yeah, just anything post what we talked
Um,
about.
as usual, no. I think I want to say back in the day, HBO would run some of these as well as the Mothra movies. And I might have seen clips as a kid. Like I remember seeing Godzilla on the TV on like HBO, but not enough to have any memories of it. So as usual, I have a clean slate on these monster movies, which is always fun. But Ryan, what is your experience? I'm more interested in you as the Godzilla fan.
Well, I see. I really didn't have an experience with these movies because, at least from my experience, I was not able to find a lot of these movies on VHS growing up, and then
Mhm.
kind of fell out a little bit on the Godzilla front a little bit. So where I wasn't actively seeking them out when I was doing that, but I had an awareness of them because when I used to work at Blockbuster, there were some of the Godzilla movies there. They had a lot of they had some of the Showa era ones, but there was actually some of the Heisei era there, but
Mhm.
it wasn't all of them. It was only like I think like one of the Mecha Godzilla movies. And I was kind of like in the mindset of like, well, if I ever watch these, like I would rather watch them in order. And then I was looking and I was thinking that it was only going to be in English.
Mhm.
And I wanted to watch the dub of them. So I never got around to it for the longest time. But eventually, I want to say maybe 15, 14 years ago, something like that, I did pick up Godzilla versus Biollante.
Okay.
So Um, so that is the only one. I'm not going to say what I thought of that one because we're not covering that obviously, but that was the only one at the time that I had seen. Oh, I'm like telling a huge fib. I have seen this one before.
Oh my
So
God.
I don't know why.
You just skipped
Just
over
like
it.
totally I just skipped over it. So this movie in particular was in my Godzilla VHS box set.
Okay.
So it was this one, Son of Godzilla, Mecha Godzilla, and Ghidorah.
Man,
So those are all five of those movies were in that one VHS box set.
that must have been interesting to have like all the old ones and then a more modern Godzilla in the mix.
Yeah, it was. And I remember watching it because the one I saw was the 1985 Godzilla 1985, which is
Okay. The
the
American one.
English version. The English version of this movie, which we'll get into. But I remember being really impressed with a lot of the visuals, but at the same time, I wanted a lot more of the Godzilla monster fighting. And that was just me when I was younger, just like
Yeah.
wanting a little more action.
Hmm.
And there is action in this one, but there's a lot of talking in this one. There's a lot of like
Very story heavy.
red, very story heavy movie. But so I did see this one originally, but I guess the reason why I just lost out of my head because it's probably been uh, like over 25 years
Yeah.
at this point.
And and you said it was the American version you would watch, which I know has different scenes anyway, which
Right.
we'll get into.
And I could and honestly, like I'd been so far, like I wouldn't even say confidently that like I could recall any scenes from it originally, like if you
Gotcha.
asked me beforehand. So what went on kind of behind the scenes, which we'll just kind of set the table a little bit, is that they had actually been working on possibly and I like to say I'm citing my sources from Big Action Bill and one of my Godzilla books, is
Oh, I
that they
forgot
were,
to watch Big Action Bill. I used to love that. I'm excited to get back to that.
yeah, so he did all the series for that one. It's a very good video series. You all should watch it. But
Mhm.
um, it's a lot of good insight is that basically they were trying to get Godzilla off the ground for the longest time, so much so that there was originally going to be an English Godzilla movie at one point.
Mm.
And you know who purchased the rights for it, Nathan?
Oh, I know. I know. It's Roger Corman, right?
No, 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 no.
That's later. That's later.
That's
Okay.
later.
Oh, who?
The person that did it was from Friday the 13th, Steve Miner.
Really? Oh, wow. That's crazy, actually. But makes sense.
And he wanted to make this big Godzilla movie in English and he had secured the rights to it, but it just never really got off the ground. So we never did see like a full-on American-made Godzilla movie until much later.
Hmm.
And what happened is in the meantime, Tomoyuki Tanaka, one of the original creators of Godzilla, really wanted to showcase another Godzilla movie. And one of the things they said is that they wanted Godzilla to be more back to his roots. And he even publicly admitted that turning Godzilla into sort of a childhood hero, like for the kids, was a bad idea. Like just flat out
Oh my
said
God.
that like that shouldn't have happened.
If your favorite one is Ebra, then you need to shut the hell up. You're wrong.
If you loved Godzilla versus Hedorah, then you're an idiot.
Yeah, you're dumb.
So it basically like admitted to that was a really bad decision on their part, and they wanted to
Mm.
get Godzilla to being back to a lot more of a scarier monster at the time.
Was
And
was Ashirio what had he passed away at this point?
no, Ishiro Honda was actually offered the role to direct it once
Really?
again, and so was the original composer Ikefube,
Yeah, I
but
heard about that.
they
Yeah.
both they both had turned it down. And actually, the reason why Honda at least passed on it was because he was helping Akira Kurosawa work on the movie Ran at the time.
Oh, I think that was the right career choice. At least in my opinion. I mean, I know I'm not
Well,
dissing this movie, but Ran is like a masterpiece.
oh yeah, and at that point too, just they said even besides that, Honda really didn't have much interest in returning back to
Yeah.
Godzilla. So I don't really blame him on that front because he pretty much like put whatever heart and soul he could into that. And after basically being beaten up the whole time, just telling him him wanting to make this serious movie, and they're just like, "No, you idiot! Like, this has to be for little kids." So
Literally the opposite of Gamera.
yeah, exactly. So uh, but Honda did recommend Koji Hashimoto, who was a part of the original Godzilla crew, so he did get his shot of making this movie. And they wanted Godzilla to be more back to his roots because originally they had a giant shape-shifting monster was going to be the main villain of this movie, and
Really?
it was going to be, yeah, it was going to be like this demon monster that would transform into four different shapes, and then
Jeez.
Godzilla would have to defeat each one of the forms
It's like a
in order
video
to
game.
win. Yeah, pretty much. But after that became really costly at the time, they were kind of finding out like, oh yeah, that's a little too much. So they wanted Godzilla to be more back to his roots, and they just wanted to make a straight up monster movie at that point.
Cool.
Uh,
And I mean, honestly, I think that's what like makes this movie so interesting, or at least why I was so intrigued by it, because it was returning to Godzilla just destroying, not fighting a monster. It was back to basics Godzilla. And I feel like that's where my interest was like, oh, this is like them trying to just restart it in a way. And I think that's interesting, at least.
Yeah, they were trying to go back to their roots and like just kind of go back to like a Godzilla like destroying the city type of thing. And again, this movie has a lot of um the same themes that were going around at the time, which was Cold War. So
Yep.
between the United States and Russia, who both play like a pretty big part into the story. Um, I didn't realize like how like which much of a political thriller like this was going to be, but I
Me
just
either.
was kind of I was kind of surprised more than anything because I mean with the way the movie starts, the movie does start exactly how the original one started, where it's just like this small boat out in the water, and then Godzilla comes and destroys it all. And then actually they do go to back to the ship and because they're trying to investigate what happened, and there's these giant s- sea
Sea
lice
leech.
that are like
Yeah, it's a
that
sea
are
leech.
attacking them.
Yeah, and I guess it had been feeding on Godzilla and it sucked up his radiation. It's kind of like a horror movie because there's like mummified bodies because it like had sucked like the life out of these the dudes there. Um, I
I
actually
liked
I
I
liked
liked
it.
that part.
Yeah.
It was pretty creepy. I liked it.
It really was, yeah, and like it had like the little leech like flying through, or the lice or whatever, flying through the air, jumping on people, and there's like one surviving guy, of course, in this group, but everyone else is dead.
Yeah, and it's basically like a lone fisherman and a scientist like is the one that finds him,
Hmm.
and they basically are aware that Godzilla is like back because there's a Russian nuclear sub that's underwater, and they think that it's an American ship that's coming to attack them. But of course, it's Godzilla, and Godzilla is able to sink them. And at first, Russia kind of sees this as an act of war, but eventually, it is revealed that Godzilla was the one that did it at the time.
Yeah, and I like that how they did this because immediately Russia's like, oh, we're going to go to war with America because this is an act of aggression, and then pretty soon after that, Japan like nixes that. They're like, no, it was Godzilla. We know what it was. And so now then it becomes between Japan, America, and Russia on what to do with Godzilla because it's not really like a mystery. They have underwater photography and they're like, yep, Godzilla's back because I guess this one is like a direct sequel to the first one, right? The other
Right.
continuity isn't there.
Right. So everything after the original Godzilla movie is completely null and void. Those don't exist in
Hmm.
the canon anymore because they do allude to Godzilla attacking the towns back in 1954, so 30 years later, he's
Hmm.
done it again. And they don't say explicitly because they say like, oh yeah, like Godzilla's back or whatever. And I'm like, well, the original Godzilla was pretty much just like a skeleton at the end of the first movie. And
Yes.
and they don't specifically say like, oh, this is a new Godzilla, because they I don't think they even did in the original one, like going back to it when they did Godzilla Raids again. I don't think they said like, oh, this is like an ant, like another Godzilla monster.
Yeah, they don't really explain that, do they? And I guess they also don't really like explain, they don't outwardly say, like, I mean, I don't know how you would, but that the other stuff didn't happen. So I guess it's kind of like, I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it. But yeah, I guess it's just, hey, Godzilla's back. Just like whatever.
Yeah, Godzilla is back, and kind of like the main deal. Like that, one of the things too is that about this movie that I really don't like is that again, like I think the human characters are pretty weak.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Um, I overall like this movie, but if there was an aspect that I feel like should have been done better was the people. Like they just like at first I could follow them pretty well, It's just as it went on, I just lost a little bit of interest in them.
Well, I mean, they don't really have like much of the like defining character traits because I mean, like I said, at first it's the scientist, the fisherman, and the fisherman's sister that
Hmm.
are out there, like kind of like trying to figure out Godzilla and his patterns. And then at one point, for like probably like a good like, would you say 30 minutes of the movie, like the prime minister of Japan is like the
Yes.
main character of the movie almost.
Yeah,
Like
it's
it's just
about
like,
him dealing with how, like, what to do with his country. And I kind of, I don't know if I loved his characterization either. The way this movie made it seem was like Japan, this prime minister, always made the right choices. He's the like good guy here. And America and Russia, all they want to do is nuke this. But Japan, they know exactly what to do. Like they're so confident in their leader in this movie.
I mean, and this might just be like me being ignorant because, I haven't lived in Japan, obviously, and I don't know, like, because it's still like 30 years, or not, sorry, 40 years at that point since
Hmm.
since they were bombed. So I'm sure like a lot of those wounds are still pretty open and,
Yeah.
and it's probably like a lot of people still feeling that. And just the fact that they were thinking of using nuclear warheads like at the time because like you said, America and Russia are both but like just bomb them. Like let's just
Yeah.
bomb this monster. And then Japan was basically just like the prime minister's like, I looked at both of them and I said, if this was your country, would you be so willing to use nuclear warheads?
Yeah, and that shut him up. That sounded like a something somebody would say on the internet. Like, yeah, and I silenced them with that epic
And then
comeback.
and then everybody clapped.
Yeah, there we go. And then everybody. But yeah, I do think it's
Exactly.
odd that he's like a main character in this. When this movie has like characters set up for it, a journalist and then like a scientist and a girl that are doing their thing because they learn that like there's like a sonar that Godzilla like has, and they're going to try to harness that. Actually, one of my favorite moments in the movie comes from that is whenever he goes to the nuclear reactor to like take in his power because that's what he wants to eat, and then the birds fly overhead, and because they have some kind of like natural like sonar or whatever, however it's explained, he gets distracted by them and walks away. I love that shot of him just turning around and looking at the birds, and he just walks with the birds. It's kind of peaceful. It
Maybe
stuck with me.
may- maybe he thought it was giant condor.
Giant condor. I think. Do you think he's gonna come back?
I hope so. Just,
I hope so.
just the fact that the little kid was like, giant
Giant
condor.
condor.
Like everyone's my favorite
Oh
character.
yeah, there's some weirdo kid that probably thought the same thing.
Well, yeah, I mean that's kind of I do like the shot too because it does they I don't I mean because that kind of becomes like the main way they take care of Godzilla in this movie is that they use like the sonar to kind of harness him because originally they're like, no, we need to use brute force against him.
Hmm.
And that's kind of what they do because at first they use like this gaseous material and they like shoot it into Godzilla's mouth and eventually he does get drugged out and just kind of like collapses in the middle of Tokyo.
Love that
And
shot too.
yeah, and he's just I like it when he's just like leaning against like a building, like he's just like
Hmm.
type of
Actually,
thing.
that whole scene is really cool because they shoot the gas into him, and Godzilla's just like standing there, and the smoke's just rolling out of his mouth. I don't know. I guess it was interesting.
Yeah, it's a cool little moment.
Hmm.
And the one thing too about this movie I will say is that um the special effects in this movie are pretty top tier.
Oh yeah, it
I
looks
mean,
great.
I I mean, just in the 9 years time, just how far special effects have come in this time period because
Hmm.
they still use a suit actor, which they do get one of the original suit actors, not the original one that
Yeah.
was a because Nakajima was too
Oh.
old at that point. But they do get Kenpachiro Satsuma, which he did do the suit actor work for Hedora and for Gigan.
Oh, cool, cool. So he had experience.
Yeah. So he definitely was somebody that had experience being a suit actor before. But one thing, the same thing with the original movie, he kept saying like how cumbersome it was being in that suit. That suit weighed more than the original suit. So this suit
Ooh.
allegedly weighed 240 pounds.
You can tell it looks bulky. Godzilla is big in this movie.
Well, so that was the other thing too. So if you kind of notice between this one and the other one is that they had to make the suit much larger, mainly because a lot of the miniatures they had to build like, these Tokyo skyscrapers because as time moved on,
Hmm.
buildings got a lot taller. So they had to make the Godzilla suit much taller as well.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
So like instead of there, being like these buildings that would come up to like Godzilla's thighs or whatever, and now they have these big giant tall skyscrapers
Yeah,
that Godzilla got to compete with.
that's why it looks so different because it is interesting to see Godzilla walking beside skyscrapers and his head doesn't even reach the top of them.
Yeah, so that was kind of intentional, is that they wanted to showcase the, how Tokyo would look now,
Hmm.
and they had to get a bigger suit at that point
Gotcha.
for that. But he was just saying like he would get burned, sometimes he got scratched, he got hurt a lot of times, and basically just like wanted to get out of that suit as much as possible.
I get it. It makes sense. And that seems to be the history of the Godzilla suit.
Yeah, it's never been like super comfortable in there.
No.
Um, Now the other aspect too of this movie is, like I said, going back to the Cold War aspect, because there is a point where Soviet Russia accidentally launches like a nuclear warhead.
Yeah, I think that bit's a little silly where like the missiles coming and then they like have to like anticipate the nuke dropping on Japan.
And it's like this looming threat, but then America comes in and saves the day and blows up their missile with their missile.
Yeah, that's how it goes. After they've evacuated Tokyo, because they do think it's going to drop. Which those scenes are interesting because it's a whole crowd of people running away to leave the city. So many of them are smiling, which I can tell you, you wouldn't be smiling.
One thing too, I noticed it's like Godzilla is actively destroying
Hmm.
Tokyo, and you would think that they would have sound like some type of evacuation alert, but there was still like a lot of people in town and like trying to like I guess
Yeah.
get a glimpse of Godzilla. I was like no, like people were just like waiting until like the last possible second, like there's Godzilla, just
Now I'll
just runs off.
evacuate. uh,
Exactly.
well, there's the homeless dude that just sticks around so he can eat food. What an odd comic, like aside. The whole scene where he's like eating food and like he calls Godzilla a hillbilly, I think.
Yeah, he's like, what are you doing in this hillbilly? What are you doing hillbilly in this big city? You think you're a big shot now? Like,
So that
I,
that bit is so like odd.
and then there's that scene too where it's like he's featured like prominently, and you see Godzilla's head like behind him, like running. Like,
Yeah. He's
and
yeah.
I'm just like, what is it? Like, why are we featuring this character so prominently?
I don't know. I wonder if he was somebody. Did you get to listen to any commentary on this? Oh, because you watched it on Criterion Channel, so you didn't.
No, so I didn't.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't have the Blu-ray of it, so it's not like
Mm.
before I could just watch any of them. But
Because I'm sure
it,
like the commentary person would be like, this homeless guy was in Akira Kurosawa's blah 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 and blah, so
or
many
yeah, it's like
connections.
known Japanese comedian that was really popular at the time, and they wanted to have somebody in there, and
Yeah, the Don
so
Knotts of Japan.
pretty much, yeah. Uh, and they are able to stop Godzilla a little bit from the Super X machine, which is basically this little like flying saucer that like the Japanese Defense Force made.
Yeah, what I one thing that I kind of liked about this movie, it has like sci-fi elements like that because that looks like a UFO, and they don't really explain it. It's not like the future or anything. It's modern, but it still has like a sci-fi feeling to it. Like this you almost UFO looking thing is going after Godzilla.
Yeah, they don't really like explain like oh like how they were able to harness this energy because you figure like I could kind of maybe understand it like maybe if they did make the other Showa movies canon, like if they did like oh Invasion of the Astro Monster was canon, so we used one of the UFO parts and made our own
That would be
little
funny.
UFO ship or something like that. But instead it's just like oh no, Japan we can make these like giant flying like warships.
Yeah, we're just that good.
So that thing is able to put up a fight at a certain point, but Godzilla kills it by just pushing a building on top of it.
Yeah, it's so easy. Um, yeah, which is great. I think like all that stuff, the Godzilla and the city stuff, destroying buildings being thrown in is great. It's the stuff in between of the scientists trying to get to the roof of the building and the with the homing missile, where I feel like it could have been done better. Like, do you feel like
hmm
this could have been Godzilla's big return? Like, imagine like a long break in Godzilla, and it's like this is the return of Godzilla. This is going to be a big deal. And then the human characters being this much of a letdown it's just a little disappointing, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess going from like it would be a little disappointing, I think, if you went from like 9 years of a drought of Godzilla and then
Mhm.
this was kind of like the next one. Like this feels like a very weak, not like a weak, but like a very mid entry into like the series.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it. I don't know if I call it mid, but it's definitely not like one of the greats. Like I was hoping for maybe Return of Godzilla would be up there with the original, right? Like, wow, this
Now,
is the start of the Heisei era.
yeah, I guess I was looking for a much bigger start. I don't mean to say mid because there is a lot to like about this movie with the special effects
And the
and
music,
just a lot of and the music too. Yeah.
music is great. It's a little cheesy, but it's really nice.
Yeah, so there is stuff to like about this one, but I do think like the slow parts in it are not very interesting. I mean, because we've commented, like we even said, like Ebra, like that had like probably like one of the best human plots of the like
Mhm.
the entire series. Because I mean, I think there is a lot that you could do, but I guess they wanted to put more emphasis on nuclear war and just
Yeah,
at the time be a lot more poignant, maybe at the time, because there's like, oh,
yeah,
well, we got to make this movie really topical.
yeah, and I mean it was on everybody's mind at the time, so it only makes sense to put it in here. And I mean like maybe in the 80s I'd have felt different, but I guess like now we've done over 300 episodes of the show, and you know how many times we've talked about Cold War and Cold War tensions? A lot. It was a very common theme in movies at the time.
Yeah. And this movie's no exception to that. And if they do change the tone like a little bit of this one, where in the English version, so we talked about it before,
Hmm.
that they do kind of insert Raymond Burr into the movie. Raymond Burr being like the character named Steve Martin,
Yep, Steve
who was
Martin.
so who was the main character of the English Godzilla, Godzilla King of the Monsters, in 1955. And in this one, they do get Raymond Burr to come back, and and New World Pictures, Roger Corman produces the American version of Godzilla called Godzilla 1985.
But for whatever reason, Roger Corman was able to hold back, and I don't think he added a single breast into Godzilla 1985.
I,
Wow.
it was on his mind.
He
He's
was
like,
like,
I
oh,
know.
gotta, yeah, and they shut it down every time. It's like, no, kids gotta watch this Roger Corman.
Yeah, so apparently though, like this movie ended up being a much bigger deal in America than it did in Japan, and
Mm,
it had like a much bigger success there because Godzilla at this point was already like kind of like an iconic monster
yeah.
and like just in pop culture. So he was kind of like a really big deal at a certain point, and people still loved a lot of those movies. So when this movie was coming out, they asked Raymond Burr to come back, and Raymond Burr, like to his credit, he was actually like a really big fan of Godzilla series, and people were kind of like, he said like some people were like basically like, yeah, like what, like why are you taking Godzilla? And he was basically just like, Godzilla helped me get like a career, so just because at the time, Raymond Burr was Perry Mason
Yep. Yep.
and like the character Perry Mason, and during this time there was a new Perry Mason series coming out called like the new Perry Mason series, for Raymond Burr came back to reprise Perry Mason. And because of that, it was around that same time this movie got a ton of free press because they would ask him about Godzilla like while he was doing like the press tour for that
Oh,
TV show.
he was in two returns, which is funny. The Return of Perry Mason. I
Yeah,
guess to hear it was called Godzilla 85, but still.
yeah. And the only difference is in those is that one, instead of him being called Steve Martin, he's called Mr. Martin
That's
in
for the
that one,
better.
because Steve Martin was like 30 years after Godzilla was actually like really popular, so they didn't want to confuse the two.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is that the Cold War aspect is still prominent in this one, but it's more seen as like Russia as the villains, and that America was the more like sensible one of the two. So
Yeah. I
very
hope they got a
heavily
better
favored.
oh go ahead. Heavily favored
Okay.
America. No, I was gonna say I hope they got a better actor for America because God, the actor for America is so bad in the
Oh God,
Japanese one.
the
We
American
need
Prime
to
Minister,
nuke it. Horrible.
he is awful. Like just like poor guy, you could tell they probably just pulled him off the street and just
Yeah.
was like, they're like, "Oh, you're an American? Like, please play the American Prime Minister." So
Hmm.
so he did that. Um, yeah, and Raymond Burr was just kind of like same deal. He was just inserted into a lot of scenes that he normally wasn't in,
Hmm.
and because of that, it does make a new movie. It was seen as like a really big success in America, more so in Japan, like I was saying.
Really interesting. So it didn't do well in Japan?
It's not that it didn't do well, it's just it did better in
Okay,
America.
gotcha.
So this movie was seen as a hit there, and that's where we start rolling back into the new series of this. And I wondered though, like if they were like kind of like thinking of like the future, or is this was just going to be kind of like a return to form and just like this might be like a one and done type of thing, because this movie does at the very end, like they use like the sonar system to kind of direct Godzilla to a volcano, and Godzilla just kind of walks to his death.
Okay, this in a movie with good special effects, the one shot of him falling into the lava. So there's a shot of him walking into the volcano that's really pretty. Like I like that where he walks into the lava, and then the next shot is like literally like a toy falling into some like lava in a volcano, and I was like, oh, that looks so bad.
Well, we don't see his body hit the lava, so
We
he
don't.
might be totally fine.
I mean,
But
I'm sure they planned on some type of sequel, even though I think it's a big gap between this and the sequel, right?
it's 4 years between
Okay,
this and the sequel, so
not that
they
bad.
may not have. But yeah, this movie had enough of success where they're like, Godzilla's back. Like, let's start planning out for the future type of thing. And I'm not sure why it took 4 years between that and the next movie, but it was seen as enough success that they wanted to keep going with the series. Like you said, not my favorite Godzilla movie, but it's a good entry. There's enough there that I think like you'll like the movie enough. It's got a great special effects. Oh, like one of the things too is they did build like an actually like a giant animatronic Godzilla to like it moved its head and everything. Like whenever they're doing like, a lot of those close-up
Oh,
shots,
really?
that was like an actual animatronic Godzilla, and they used that for a lot of the press tours, so you could see Godzilla moving and talking type of thing. So it was they. they made it look really good in there. And
Yeah.
like I do like the suit in that one. I do like Godzilla's face in that one. The other cool shot is when Godzilla does like they do like the Godzilla reveal and it's just like one lone man like looking up at Godzilla.
Oh
I
yeah.
thought that was a pretty
A lot of the Godzilla stuff like that I think is really good. And I think that's what helps it for me because I like this movie. I thought it was pretty good. Like I think the humans are pretty boring, and that like you said makes it not one of the best. And I fully expected, like, for whatever reason in my mind, I thought this one would be one of the best entries. I don't know why I went in with that, but I thought it was going to be really high. But it wasn't. But is it? It's not bad by any means.
no. No, and we're gonna see a lot more Godzilla. He's gonna be returning back to fight a lot more monsters, so it'll be a lot more what the formula that they did before in the show era, but with a more darker, serious tone to it because it's the
Of course.
90s, Nathan. We gotta
Oh yeah.
be edgy.
Yeah, no, we can't have fun, okay? These movies have to be dark. You have to be depressed by the end of your Godzilla movie.
Absolutely, wouldn't have it any other way.
Hmm.
But I think that is going to do it for now for that one. If there's anything I missed, I'll clean it. I'll do some cleanup in the next entry into the series.
Cool. But yeah, no, I think that's all I had. But I'm excited that Godzilla is back. I'm happy to be back at it again.
Absolutely. But let's shut the book on Godzilla for now, Nathan. What are we going to be talking about next time?
Well, Ryan, on Tuesday, we are going to be talking about Blue Steel. And that one is going to be streaming over on Tubi, Prime Video, and Criterion. Take your choice. But Ryan, what are we covering on Thursday?
Well, Nathan, I wanted to talk about one of my childhood favorites. Nathan, we're going to be talking about the movie Pet Shop, and that is streaming over on Tubi right now.
All right, I'm excited.
Terrific. Well, if you have any thoughts and opinions about this podcast, please email us over at drivein-double-feature-podcast@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on our YouTube channel at Drive-In Double Feature Podcast. And once again, check out the Patreon at patreon.com/Drive-In Double Feature Podcast. But until next time.
Until next time.